good friend of mine recommended Rich Dad Poor Dad as a good read, but I read this book in 3 days. I was very passionate about real estate immediately after that.
Welcome to another episode of the Seven Figure Journey podcast. I'm David Gilliland, one of your hosts. We're excited to have Alex Zemianek. I probably said it wrong now.
Close
Zemianek?
enough. Great. Zemianek.
Yeah, whatever. Alex Zemianek here with the Jay-Z Vacation Rentals out of St. Louis, Missouri. Or I didn't, I said Missouri. Well, are you in Missouri?
You got it. Yes.
Good, good. I realized I was like, well, I hope I didn't just throw the wrong state in my head. Welcome to the call, Alex. Welcome to the
Thank
podcast.
you. Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here. Excited for the invite. I appreciate the opportunity.
We love talking with entrepreneurs, right? All of us like sharing our war stories and also things we've learned and just kind of finding other people where we're not alone. Because sometimes it feels like a lonely journey. Like none of our team fully gets what
Sometimes
we're
or
doing.
all the time. Yeah, most of the time it does, especially in the beginning, for sure.
Yeah, it does. Uh, so I'd love to hear a little bit of your story. How did you get started in the vacation rentals space? And tell us just maybe a couple minutes and catch us up to how you got to where you are today.
Yeah. Okay. So back in I'll start with what Jay Z is. So 2004, or just kind of the heart behind the brand. I actually lost my father, so he passed away from a sudden heart attack, and I found out later that he had a passion for real estate. A good friend of mine recommended Rich Dad Poor Dad as a good read. And at that time, I was not much of a reader. I was 20. But I read this book in 3 days. I was uh, very passionate about real estate immediately after that. And so I got on the journey of investing, learning about REI, and just all things investing. Took some courses and just really dove in. 2008, I bought my first property. So I bought a two-family, moved into the lower level unit, tried to really start kind of the BRRRR strategy of buy, renovate, refinance, repeat, and rented out the upstairs unit, fixed it up along the way. I started out the first handyman, and I didn't really know what I was doing, so I probably wasted a lot more money then than bringing somebody on, and had my first employee after that, moved out of the two-family into a four-family, and I was living in one of the units, renting out the other three. In 2014, I got news of my son, and his mom had an extra set of furniture in storage, and we had my furniture. And I was talking to a friend of mine because I was struggling to get a furnished rental. We were just trying to leave the furniture behind. Had a newborn coming home to an area that I wouldn't normally want to bring a newborn home to. Trendy area, fun, but anyways, we ended up talking to a friend. I was calling a friend in real estate. He told me about Airbnb, and I looked at him like he was crazy because back then there was 300 or 400 properties. Not too many people really knew what it was. I think it was really booming, but not so much in St. Louis. There's no beach here. Didn't seem like a vacational destination. Long story short, we tried it out, doubled the rent of the long-term rentals in the building, and just kept it moving. And so because I was started out as a real estate investor with Jay-Z Properties, my first company, we bought, rehabbed, furnished, leased the first about 7 to 8 properties, and then in 2017 we began investing heavily into our website software, and became what's called a channel manager, where you can take one property, connect it to as many travel agents as you want. Airbnb is what's known as an OTA in our industry, or online travel agent. And so you start with Airbnb, and then Verbo, and then you get into Booking.com and all these other platforms. And so we, in 2017, enlisted our services to others, and that's when Jay-Z Vacation Rentals basically was founded.
Nice. So you really bring the brand. It's like not just any random vacation home, but you want one that's got the Jay-Z brand, that you know it's going to be at a certain quality level, a certain experience, that's what you're going to get for your family. You don't have to show up and hope.
Yes, show up and hope. No. And I, as a consumer, I remember Well, I'll start here. I remember years ago we were actually just looking for a place to go, and I think it was in Marco Island, which is a beautiful destination. And I remember just funneling on Airbnb through all these properties. I would narrow it down to a couple hundred, then try to get it down to 10. My wife was like, absolutely not. And so I go back to the drawing board, and it was difficult to find something that just seemed comfortable and kind of checked a lot of the boxes because when Airbnb came around, they made it so accessible for many hosts to be able to do. So what happened very quickly in this $100 billion home sharing industry that it is today is that there's just all of these travel agents, there's all of these individual hosts, there's companies, there's just this wide range, but there's very few brands, maybe 3 to 5% of the entire industry. And so I found one early on that I started following that I was very impressed with called luxuryretreats.com. And I was fascinated by this brand because they were completely independent of all travel agents. They were just their own site, luxuryretreats.com, and they had 300 of some of the nicest villas in the world. So they were a pretty, rather large company, and Airbnb bought it because they saw them as a competitor. And it's now Airbnb Lux that is just a filter, like Superhost and all these other filters that you have. And so that kind of was started the vision of let's go the different path. Let's go the path of being quality over quantity and be a brand consistency to where just like the hotels have done forever, whatever your hotel brand of choice is, if that's Marriott or if that's Four Seasons or whatever that is, then you know if you pick another state, another city, another country, you kind of know what you're going to expect. The design might shift a little bit, but for the most part, it's still the same brand. So that's yes, that has been our mission since day one. There are many days along the way that I scratch my head and question whether or not that was the right move because it's taken us quite some time to become profitable because you can't scale nearly as quickly and you have to turn a lot of homes down. You have to let owners go. You have to terminate and you know. Fast forward though 7 years, it's significantly paid off because we've essentially, instead of building on somebody else's land, like what you do when you hand all of your business to the travel agents to bring it in, we've built our own website platform that allows us to be able to go out and grab repeat business and not just wait for it to come from a travel agent like Airbnb.
Cool. Um, as you've been building this, what are some of the insights or nuggets that really helped you not from like when you were $100,000 company, but in the million range and plus, what's helped you at this stage? What's really been a value add for your business at this phase that maybe you could share a little insight for us?
I would say your core team, who you have, your turnover. As I shared with you briefly beforehand, that I came from a corporate background, and so I got to see turnover at the highest. And I remember taking on an opportunity to go out to Cincinnati from St. Louis, and I flew there every week. And it was an opportunity to rebound a region. I started out as a salesperson slinging phones in a kiosk, good old Mizzou, Columbia Mall, and then just climbed the corporate ladder. And I learned leadership through a lot of failure, a lot of mistakes, humility, and figuring out like how to build a culture. And so, a lot of my role at AT&T towards the end was going to revive cultures. And I remember in this Cincinnati opportunity, when I was offered it, I originally turned it down multiple times. They asked me to come in and tell them why. And so when I came in, I was essentially interviewing the owner of the company and saying, do you know what your turnover is? And they didn't really know. And I'm like, well, you're losing 8 people a month. That's 2 a week. So if I'm a really good recruiter, then that means that I can just barely replace what we're losing every month. And I'm not out here to just be on the phone recruiting the entire time. And so first thing I had to do was basically stop that turnover before we could ever get sales results. And I took that and eventually just got sick of the Kool-Aid drinking corporate world and left and jumped into real estate full time. And I would like today, my four core leaders that make up multiple departments wear many hats. are all approaching 6, 7 years. So since day one, and my first housekeeper started with me before Jay-Z Vacation Rentals launched officially, and so she has seen everything, and now she's our head of field operations. She oversees design and multiple cities of housekeeping teams and managers and vendors, and like I said, many many hats. And I think when you get into that war zone like a pandemic, we've had a lot of things hit us where I thought we were done, including the pandemic. We lost $100,000 from a Friday to a Sunday. All the bookings gone. So it erased our liquidity. And my employees, when I told them that we were done, in an office after barely getting 20 hours of sleep over a week, I thought we were done. I prayed about it. I built up the courage to tell them, and they all looked at me like, "Are you done?" Or, I mean, we're not quitting. We'll just work for free. I mean, we can power through this. I was blown away. And so I will say that there's nothing more important than treating your team as the most important foundation of your business, because it'll
Yeah.
carry you through so many other things. And turnover is expensive, but the time to teach and train and replace that person that knows as much as they know, that knowledge level is even more expensive.
Yeah. That insight that you just shared, I hope all the listeners grabbed it. The time and attention to ensure you're building a great team, that you've got their back, that you're helping them stretch and grow and own their position to where they love the work they're a part of, then they'll have your back. Uh,
Yes,
it is painful to grow a business when you're lifting it and carrying it on your shoulders. You need the team to carry it
so
with you,
true.
and that turnover it's just all the profit, sanity, and joy just bleeds right out of the company when you got that turnover
Yeah, you
happening.
have to love it. And yeah, and your team has to love it. Like if you love it, they're going to love it. And if you really love what you're doing, then money conversations and accounting or negative years, which are going to have. I mean, I don't know too many businesses that don't have multiple negative years. I was told many times there's 3 years. I was listening to a podcast with Andy Frisella and Ed Milet, and he was talking about 10 to 20 years. And I like that people are delivering that real message today. The message that I deliver now is a little different than I did 5 years ago, because it is a little bit longer of a struggle. But when you love it, you're going to hang in the saddle. And if you have the right team, they're going to hang in the saddle with you. And I think too often we talk about revenue, we talk about profit, we talk about growth, we talk about scalability, but we don't always talk about the people and how important that is, and having the right people. And I've not always been good at that,
Yeah.
and I think I picked some phenomenal people that have been on this journey with me, and I think we have a lot to go and recruit and bring on as well. We're getting back to that kind of hiring stage now, which is great. But yes, I think focusing on the foundation, there's nothing more important. Everything can be pretty on top of it, but if it's built on sand, it can all come crumbling down when a pandemic happens
Yeah.
or
uh,
something like that.
or something like it. Well, now as you're growing and you're continuing to move forward, I know that you're looking at like double growth in this next year in one area of your business, and that's that recruiting, and that's that building the team. And what kinds of things are you looking at to help you really focus on the long term and still build the team that you need? What's some of the challenges you see in the near horizon? Maybe we could talk about and
Yeah,
dive into.
yeah. So, going on that people note, we need more people when we start to grow. The end of last year, we were very, very blessed and fortunate to land a new partnership with some great developers, great people, and a lot of owners that are in Denver, Colorado. They terminated a relationship with another property manager, and that helped us bring on an entire luxury kind of four-season-ish condo hotel that is now expanded into multiple that we have out there and growing. And what that does is immediately brings a whole lot of revenue all at once, because we're doing an onboarding of 30 units at once instead of a home, or two a month. And so that cause for expansion. There's a lot of things in our business that if we add 20 homes, it doesn't mean we have to add, 5 people every time, but we are definitely now reached the point where we're becoming profitable. It's taken 7 years to do so. And now that we are profitable, the main focus has been trying to get me back into the ownership role or the visionary role where I can continue to be the strategist over the business and less in the business. So I hired a recruiting company in our industry, and they're phenomenal because they don't just go out and find you good candidates, but they also meet with you, do coaching, dig into your entire people stack. They call it. I'm always talking tech stack in our business, and this is your people stack. First thing we did was the predictive index, which is it's a
Yeah.
phenomenal tool because then you get to see so much about your team and validate their roles. Are they in the right positions? And so that's been a big focus for me. And I feel like it's been a pain point because we went from this really good growth, a lot of good traction. Then it was almost like a tornado hit our house, erased it, and we had to start all over in 2020, 2021. And so what happens then when we're not profitable, we're losing money, we lost a lot of money, we have all this debt, is now everybody is forced to wear so many hats because we can't afford to bring anybody else on. So we've done that for so long that it's almost pushed everybody into this position of trying to continue to wear too many hats and being so reluctant to hand them off, myself
Mm.
included. I always start inward, and so that's been a big focus of mine is trying to get into the position of hiring an integrator that can be basically my direct report and then start to kind of funnel the direct reports and leadership team that I have today.
And I'm going to define that out in some other terms too. Basically, someone who leads all operations, that
Yes.
oversees,
Another term would be like a COO.
yeah, a COO out there or general manager that's leading and running all the other positions and roles and orchestrates it all, right?
Yes. Yeah. That allows
That
you to continue to be in the idea visionary, strategist, and it's also somebody that can come in and funnel your ideas too, because they don't always all need to be implemented, right?
yeah, yeah. Uh, Hiring a yes man isn't as good as getting a no
No.
gal, right? Who'll tell you,
Yeah.
no, not that. We're doing the following. We all agreed, and then we line up behind her
Yes.
and we go get it done.
That's right. You gotta love that. You gotta love it.
That's perfect. So, I mean, it sounds like you've got a little plan there. What are your worries, concerns? What do you want to talk through right now that can be helpful in either finding and identifying the hard thing? I mean, you're talking about pulling someone in, not promoting someone up, right?
That's correct.
And so they've got to match your culture
Yes.
and
Yes.
enhance it, not detract from it, which
Yes.
that's a challenge.
It is a challenge. Yeah, it is a challenge.
What do you
And
do? What do you do right now? I mean, you've got your predictive index, and you've got other things for role fit. What do you do right now for culture fit or vision fit from the person
I
or in
love
your
that. I
hiring
think it's
process?
just I'm taking more time now. When I have a role right now, I'm hiring for a construction project manager. That's where we started. We paused it, and now we're getting back to it. And that person can help us to continue to grow one area of the company. And it also kind of goes, they're very cohesive. Almost every property management entity, like we are, should have some kind of construction because you're already doing maintenance, you're already very much in the construction business. And so with this particular role, it's been a good kind of self-reflection moment of how quickly I hired previously, and I have four leaders that have been with me 6 or 7 years, but it doesn't mean they're the only people that have been here and not been out. We've had a lot of people come and go too, so I've made a lot of mistakes on hiring, and so now slowing it down and being a lot more analytical about how that person sees their preferred culture, values. We do a whole lot more screening. And the PI or the predictive index definitely helps because then you get to see, okay, are you looking for somebody that is like a self-motivated individual that is a leader or a self-starter? They don't need as much of a nudge or push, or not. You don't need that in every role. role. So a promoter in the predictive index would be more of a salesperson, right? And an operator, if you put an operator in a sales role, then that's not going to be usually as beneficial for your company as well. So these are some
Yeah.
things I've been kind of struggling with and
So
trying
let's work through
to,
them again.
yeah.
The predictive index side, that has a lot more to do with a role fit than a company fit,
Mhm.
right?
Yes.
Very good on the role fit stuff. And a lot of the things that we've interviewed for years in the past have been role fit issues. But what would be the cost if you pulled in an integrator who was a genius in the role, but valued different things than you, pulled the business a different direction, or you
It'd be
felt that
expensive.
direction? What would happen?
Well, I mean, it can create a divide. And now you have people that are used to reporting to you directly for 7 years, and you have your kind of family built, right? Your work
Uh-huh.
family, we call it our Jay Z family. And then you bring somebody else in that doesn't share the same values, same mission, same um, things in life, which is okay, but it isn't okay if you bring them on. And
Yeah.
I think it would create a divide. It's not about just getting rid of the task and the time and trying to enjoy your business, because you're really not going to enjoy it, in my opinion, if someone comes in and starts dividing what you created and saw as a culture that people love to be a part of and want to be around, and aren't just around for the salary or the payroll. They're there because of how the culture pushes them along and makes them feel. So I think, to answer your question from before, it's just making sure you ask more questions about that and you dig in a little bit
Yeah.
deeper, not just one interview, but multiple, because people show up differently in different days. And it's good to figure
Some of
out
the,
what is really the heartbeat behind that person and what really makes them tick. Is it money? Because that may not be the right person if it's just money, because they won't hang in the saddle when things don't always go as planned.
for that particular role, here's some of the pains I've seen others go through when they hired poorly on a company fit. So there's a company fit and a role fit, business fit or culture fit and a role fit, right? And when they're off on that company or role or the culture fit side, and in that key role specifically, they may be able to tell you what you want to hear, and oh yeah, yeah, those values, but they don't live it. And so your team starts to experience a drastically different company than they were used to.
So true.
And now you've got turnover in places you never wanted, right? Now you've got team
So true.
members who are upset and they're going around them. And now you've got all this, well, am I supposed to support my new leader or not? Drama enters into the business. And there's nothing quite like drama to suck the joy and profits right out of your business.
So
so
true.
so
Yes.
so let's get in just a little tighter. Let's get a little tighter. What is your purpose for Jay-Z rentals, vacation
Great
rentals?
question. I feel that, I had another company that was quite profitable, the real estate company, but I didn't feel a purpose. Like, it was bringing in $1 million a year, and it was
Yeah.
bringing in things
It,
that
it, it
felt
had
like
a
they were speaking.
profit. It just didn't have a purpose, right?
I had a profit, didn't have a purpose. I didn't feel like I was bringing anybody with me. I didn't. It did. It wasn't. There wasn't leadership and education and all of those things that happen in the company. So I feel like just we are delivering something that's very unique in our industry by going after and being a brand. And in every which way, we actually care about our people, in so much sense that we invest heavily into them. There's a lot of training, a lot of things. So our purpose is really just creating this quality over quantity experience. It's not just the homes that we're putting people in on vacation homes.
Okay.
It's everything.
All right.
It's the employment.
Let's pretend for now. Let's
Yeah.
pretend for now this purpose is, and I'm doing this pretend for now, which is so unfair, but I'm going to do it anyway because I think we're in adolescent stage. So let's pretend for now that it's like, yeah, we're creating a worry-free vacation experience for people around the world, right? Like, well, like people need to be able to turn it off and enjoy. And without a branded experience where a promise is made and kept and they can go and have that without that, there's anxiousness, worry, there's finger
So
pointing,
true.
there's problems, there's headache when they go on vacation, which they
You don't know
shouldn't.
what you're going to get into. Yeah, absolutely.
That's right. So let's pretend it's something like that. If your team, you and your team together, took time to co-create that, and I'm talking about those four core and you, those five, if the five of you take the time to really determine and say, no, what actually excites me about the work? Why? What's the good we're doing? If I can get something that together we've co-created, that's a start, because now I've got a solid measurable thing. I need to find somebody else now who, when they hear our purpose, they lean in and they get excited about it. And if I don't see them getting excited about it, I don't want them. If I see them
Love
giving me a
that.
professional response, that's nice. Oh, yeah, I think that's a really good thing to do. I don't want them. I don't want lip service. I want heart. Okay. Because lip service would have left you in the pandemic, but the heart didn't.
Absolutely. And I
Right. They
actually,
were there.
I'll share something with you. I had an intern during that time of the pandemic being announced, and my employees had to volunteer to work for free. That was on them. They could go to unemployment, which wasn't bad, but we had an intern that I remember us sitting around the room and having some very serious conversations of our direction and really being cohesive. And I asked him to just lay it out there honestly. I'm like, your internship's almost up. Why don't you just tell us as it is? He's like, oh, my internship was up 3 months ago. And I'm like, what? What are you? So why are you still here? And he's like, because I love what you guys are about. I love what you're doing. You're chasing quality. You care. You actually want every experience for every single person that comes around and interacts with your brand, whether that's a vendor that we promote and help grow, or an employee or an owner that we manage for, or guest, which is one of our, we have two clients, owners and guests. And it's all about making sure we're doing it the right way. And that
Yeah.
was enlightening for me, because that really settled in, like, okay, we are doing a good thing here. In those
Yeah.
moments, you're
I
just
love that.
drowning. So,
And there you've identified some things. So if we have a purpose that's drawing us, the next is how we go about doing it. And you guys have some, and I call them core values. And you've talked a little bit about that, but doing it the right way, genuinely caring, a family atmosphere. We'll say a
integrity.
functional family
Yeah.
atmosphere.
Yes,
Right? Like
functional.
that, these were just words from you.
Yeah,
These are potentials. Again, with that team of five together saying what really there, like all of you have multiple values, but there's four or five, maybe six of them. You guys are in sync with each other. And when it's off, those people you fired. And you didn't necessarily say because they didn't have this value. You're like, they just didn't fit. Boy, they just always rubbed wrong. It just never worked right with them. Drama was in it. Could never read them. Didn't know where they stood. Whatever, right? There was something about them. Well, it's because one of these five was off. Probably three of those five were off, but
yeah,
still, there was something off. That's key too. And we want to put it out there. So we want to put this purpose and we want to put these core values with clear definitions of what we mean, not Webster's, our style, what it means to us, and examples. Like this is just to show you what we mean by like we own it or we're all in. You probably have a we're all in example. Pandemic came, everybody stayed on, even the intern.
yeah.
Like we were all in, right? And like that's just different. And that's got this company lore with it that has sticking power. Well, we want to put that out there. And so when you go hiring for this integrator role or this COO or this general manager, or maybe a construction manager, if you go back to that role too, as you're hiring for these positions or any future position, we want to make sure that they know first and foremost, hey, look, we're a little weird. We care about this in a crazy way.
I
This
love
isn't
that.
nice corporate speak on the wall. This is engraven on our hearts.
This
Like
is real
if I
AF.
had a
Yes.
tattoo, it was gonna say, like it's going right across there. Like this is our level of intensity. If that makes you uncomfortable, find another place.
Yes.
If that excites you, keep talking with us.
You're in the right
Right.
place.
And
Yep.
so send it out there because it will be a magnet, either repulsing or pulling. It's going to pull the right people and push the wrong ones away. This culture fit matters. And I would go through each and every one of the values. Well, first I'd go through the purpose in a screening interview. After you've done your little whatevers, maybe you did your profile piece on there, maybe you did some other things. Now you're finally actually having an interview with them. I'd set aside 15, 30 minutes, something like that, just a phone call, video call where I'm just saying, okay, tell me about this value. Tell me about a time you lived it. And if they're giving me nice, thoughtful, professional answers, I'm not hiring them. If they kind of forget who they are and they're like, really? Oh, let me tell you about. And you see a bubbling
Passion.
excitement. And
Yeah.
then
It's
in an
got to be
accountant,
spewing out.
it looks like, huh? That's bubbling excitement in an accountant. But in other roles, like they're like jumping out of their seat. I seen tears come down people's faces as they're talking
Same.
about, like, really? I get to bring my whole self to work and who I am at my core, that's who you are. I had to swallow down things I cared most about to live with my last bosses, to be in the same space with them. I had to put some of my values aside and say, well, I'm just doing what I'm told here, but I don't like what they stand for. They will be excited by it. I would put that in there because now the five of you have said this is the blueprint of who fits us. Now we can look for it. And we're going to look and see in their eyes, are they excited or aren't they? Does this something, are they getting giddy? Would they be willing to come on board at a pay cut? We don't have to ask them that. You can kind of sense it. I've seen it happen over and over again where people are like, look, I know I was asking this, but to be part of this organization, I can see a future in it. I'll take a cut. Let me be a part of this. I want in the door, or where they're just determined. And that's a key piece that I think we can add in on your hiring process that will help you knock a home run on that. Drawing in the right candidates and then
I think
selecting.
an exercise for me after this, and we've done this, but it's been a while, is to sit down. We have 12 employees, but four that 6, 7 years in that are leaders. But sit down with the leadership team and really an all team, but it's good to get everybody's. And
Yep.
let's land. We have values, we have core values, we have mission, but sometimes you got to revisit them. Sometimes you have to make sure they're really
Yep. Time to
stamped.
revisit.
And I'm very visual too. Like, is it posted anywhere? No. That's the honesty and reality. And 7 years in, you're like, you think about it, you're like, has it been 7 years? Why don't we have this stuff already? Yeah, but
That's
it
right.
is stuff you have to face, and you really do, because then it's you live it, breathe it, you live it and breathe it already. But you help others that are coming in externally to be able to really see it, and it helps you to also hone in, like you just said,
They need the
make sure that
repetition.
they are
And you've
passionate
done some of
about
that culture work in the corporate business. In the small business, it's just so much more real,
it. It is. It
right?
is.
Because they
Yeah.
see you in all of your life. They just do.
Yes.
You guys are in each other's business. And so it's real and you get to talk about it ad nauseum. Like that where they're like, really? You're saying it again? Like when their eyes are rolling to the back of their heads because like, oh, Alex is talking about we own it again. Oh boy.
Yeah.
You know that you're like 20% of the way there. Right.
Yes.
So
Yes.
just
Yes.
keep it going.
Because you're
It's hire,
feeding
lead, and
it.
fire to that
Yeah.
vision is the key. Anyway, hopefully that was a helpful piece. We're running short on time. Alex, if someone wants to have a great vacation experience, how do they find you?
Well, if you're a guest, the best way, or anybody that's wanting to travel, is on our website, so jzvacationrooms.com. And we now have 1,100 luxury homes, 14 states and 3 countries, and they've all been vetted. So that is our mission. That is what we want to do. Is we want in every city that quality and that consistency sustains.
Fantastic. Thanks so much. And that wraps up this episode of the Seven Figure Journey podcast. Alex, again, thank you so much for being on the show. We appreciate it. We appreciate your insights.
My pleasure, David.
For
Thank
all
you
the
for
other
having me.
leaders
This
who are
was a lot
listening,
of fun.
yeah, I enjoyed it too. For all the other business owners listening, share, like, do whatever you do to get it to other seven figure business owners so we can do this journey together. Uh, until next time,